Hello and welcome to Steelfur Speaks. This is an updated deck list compared to that Victor deck list I posted last week, which people quite enjoyed. Here's a different one. Take a bit of a look at it. The main difference between that list and this list is that list was essentially trying to clash literally as much as possible and really was trying to just sort of focus down into how many times can we clash, how many resources can I generate, how can I get that kind of value. This list is saying, okay, what are the really good clash cards? Namely Clash of Vigor, Test of Strength, Trounce, a little bit of Clash of Might, and how do I optimize those to basically get the best turns possible. And you'll find that when you clash with Vigor, if you win, these chokeslams, these debilitates come online really nicely. When you clash a Vigor and you win, you can actually use tectonic plating to get a seismic surge and typically carry it through until you need it for one of these. So there's lots of more interesting interactions here where actually it does play more like traditional Guardian, where you are playing, big attacks, and there are some decks you want to side the clash out against, like for example some of the brutes. You don't really want stuff like Trounce in there. The odds of you winning 2 clashes in a row are quite low. You keep Clash of Vigor because it's a blue, but you don't really keep all the things, and you put in your typical anti-aggro packages, your Zealous Beltings, your Rouse the Ancients, and then of course against some other players who attack you with big attacks, maybe in the brutes again, you're putting in your defense reactions. You've also got Prime to Fight as well, which you can put in against decks that you're guaranteed to win clashes against, because then you're getting Might, you're getting Vigor. It makes a lot of sense. So let's just walk through the cards, and then of course it will play like traditional Guardian does, but with a bit of a Victor spin when you're clashing against people like Warrior and Ninja and stuff like that, and it gets to be a lot more effective, right? Because you're going to win every single clash. So obviously we've got Victor. Every time you create a gold token, you draw a card. To create gold tokens at the moment, we really only have Test of Strength and Trounce, but of course you have Golden Sun, and there is a way of playing the deck where you don't play all of your clash cards fairly early on. You just try and get out a lot of your basic attacks, and then when you get back around to the cycle with the Golden Sun and the clash effects in, you will get gold from it like water from the sky, and anytime you reveal it with the right clash card, you will win, and it'll be really good. Again, there's a lot to be refined on this list, so don't take this entirely as like gospel how this is going to look in the end. You've got Ori and Aegeus, because blocking 2 is amazing. It counting as gold is really good for Golden Sun. Remember, Golden Sun is also your late game finisher. You're not going to want to spend your gold to reroll clashes that often. Most of the clashes are not that vital. You probably reroll Trounce more than anything else, but you're not really rerolling a Clash of Might or a Clash of Vigor unless you really need the Vigor token for your next turn. Sometimes you will. Like sometimes you have like 2 reds and 2 blues, and the only way you're going to be able to play your Chokeslam and block is to Clash of Vigor and get that Vigor token, and then you might re-roll with the gold, but typically 1 block is worth more than the gold destruction unless it's finishing the game with Golden Sun, right? Balance of Justice is amazing into brutes. Anyone who draws 2 more cards, but especially brutes, and there's a lot of brutes going around at the moment. Civic Steps blocks 2. Be careful with the Quicken token. Preferably give it to someone in the middle of their turn when they already plan on attacking already. So, like, for example, if Kasai is just attacked with a weapon, it can sometimes be okay to give her another Quicken token. Sometimes that does mean you're going to get hit with a 3rd attack of something. But most of the time, she's going to be forced to use that 2nd Quicken token on her weapon, and you're not going to get hit with it. Iron Will is just better temper than the other gauntlets, which we never triggered because they were too expensive. Miller's Grindstone does what it does, bit of clashing. There are some matchups where you don't want to clash, like, straight away, but you kind of want to block a lot of their red attacks first and then start clashing. So, for example, one strategy that's being tried versus Brute, and I'm not sure how efficient it is, but we're going to get there, is basically blocking for a lot of the first cycle where they're playing a lot of reds and just trying to bleed them out of reds. And then when they get to the second cycle, they've got a lot more blues left over and stuff like that. Their clashing becomes a lot less consistent, and then you start playing your clash cards and start swinging the hammer and basically fatigue them. But you don't really start with fatiguing. And then Tectonic is just amazing with Vigor tokens. If you make a Vigor token, it often takes away the one that was budgeted in for setup in WTR. So Bravo did a lot of setup in WTR where he was like, put Spinal Crush in Arsenal, make a Seismic Surge, and then you've got 2 resources, and the Spinal Crush comes in for 4. Same with stuff like Chokeslam. And in some decks that makes room for Pummel, but in this deck I don't really feel like you need pummel. You're just being super efficient. Choke slams a 4 for 8 and a 4 for 6 blue. Debilitates a 4 for 8 and a 4 for 6 blue. Disables a 5 for 9, really efficient. 7, really good. Spinal Crush is amazing for stop and go again. Thunderquake, it's a 6 for 10, but the Heave is really good. Even without Crown of Providence, the Heave is really good. Test of Strength, getting gold on the fence and replacing it for free is Chef's Kiss. Same with Trounce. Again, the block cards do come out against certain decks, but not everyone you'd think. Like, you leave them in versus Dromai, for example, just because if you don't, you run out of... You could use them to block if they're an aggro Dromai, right? Do we have matchups in this? We kind of do. I think I've changed some of these cards, but that's fine. So the matchups should be all right. Just give them a try, double check. Like, obviously, there are some decks where you should have defense reactions in. Make sure you've got your unmovables in. Righteous Cleansing is amazing. It sets up your Clash, and it also removes key cards, and it comes in for 7. A lot of these are like, if you get an Aura or a Seismic Surge token, a Vigor or a Seismic Surge token, they're just such good rate. Golden Sun can win you the game. Buckling Blows are 4 for 6. Clash of Might and Clash of Vigor are just really good clash effects. Guardian Staples, Cranial Crush, Rouse the Ancients. Rouse the Ancients just because it's a block 2. There's 2 on the sideboard, 1 in the main. You want the blues, but you don't want it in all the time. So you will take it out, put it in if you need more go again. Thunk and Wallop, I think, are actually really good. You need blues, and you need a lot of blues. So that's like... what are you doing with your blue slots is always kind of a big question. So putting in Thunk and Wallop in blue is just like, if you reveal this, it's an extra bonus. But they're also not really diluting your reds that much. Like, you don't want to run this in red because it's a 5 for 8. Or, sorry, it's a 5 for 8 and a 4 for 7. Like, they're all right, but you'd much rather be running the 5 for 9, the 4 for 8 with the crush effects than just running vanilla versions of this. But I still think that's something that could potentially be tested. I think if you're running 12 Clash cards, then you could run the reds of these. And when you do reveal them on a Clash, it is so efficient. Like, getting Trounce into Wallop into, something, ending up with 2 Vigor tokens is huge. Prime to Fight is just in there for a bit more testing. I think you can just chuck this in. If you ever want a more powerful attacker, just take out one of the guys. Ooh, sorry, snuck up on me. Defense reactions for the right matchups, so Azalea, Mirrors, Brutes, that kind of thing. Put those in. Go agains for Illusionist and Aggro, Brutes again. Anathos for the Mirror and for Brutes and other sort of slower games. There's still a lot to be determined. Like, these are just the options that I think you need available to you. You might still have to try and figure out a few things, even though there are matchups. I think the matchups I've tried a little bit. I copied a few from someone on one of the Discords. You know how it is. You don't make all of your own deck lists from scratch. You look and see what other people are doing, and you kind of root around and try and figure out if you like what they're doing or you think it should go the way someone else is doing, and you kind of pull it all together. So this is the version of Victor I will be testing. It's obviously far from refined. But I have a feeling this is the best current version of Victor, and I think I personally feel like there's more room for Clash. I feel like this deck runs the feeling of potentially being too much like Bravo. Sometimes I'm feeling not enough like Victor when you're already running 12 Clash cards. But there is, of course, the downside that all the Clashes are potentially misses unless you're running the red Clash of Might, Clash of Vigor. So that's kind of the place that I would go to first, is to put in red Clash of Might, red Clash of Vigor, and that would up your Clash amount from sort of 4 to from 11 to 17, and also not really dilute your power too much. Yeah, you're trading 8s, but they're 2 for 8s. They're really easy to pay for. So I would probably cut Disable for those, and then just see how that feels. I would probably cut Disable and Thunderquake, and that might be what I'll try next. But that's my Victor deck tech. I have decided to start doing more deck techs. I don't necessarily have the time to go in and test every hero, but there's so much information available. And one of my strengths as a content creator, which you'll see because I have some other big projects on the go at the moment, is actually research and like correlating findings. That's obviously what I do for a living. So I've kind of realized that for me to do deck techs, I don't necessarily have to go in and do 100 games myself to point people who want an additional understanding in the right direction. I really just have to go to Discords and things like that and just read. and just determine what I think looks good and start giving the logic behind it and all these kind of things. And I think that will help a lot of people enter into things. We're all about entry points here, right, on the channel at the moment. I'm recording and re-recording at the moment my entire New Player Hero Guide, which I'm working with someone to edit, so it should look and come out fantastically when we're done. And I think the main thing that comes out about that is, if I give people a nugget, they can try it, right? A lot of people messaged me last week, including my friend Simon, who is now streaming on Twitch 4 days a week at Scowling Fleshbag. Really fun stream to watch, so I would highly recommend everyone goes to watch it. But he was like, I just picked up the list and played with it a bit, and it was fun. So that's what we're aiming for. We're aiming for here, you can pick it up, and it'll be fun. And I realised I don't actually have to be the person who makes all of the deck for that. I can just maybe just be the person who correlates, explains, and understands, which is better, and it's what I'm doing. So that's what you're going to get from me. I'm going to put up a lot more deck techs. I may not have them all in depth as much as I would have with play patterns before, but they will also be just information that is available out there to help people who like to listen to things and understand what's going on. Thanks a lot for listening. If you like this video, as always, do like and subscribe. I am keen to see that subscriber number go up. I would love to hit 2,000 maybe this year, and sort of get the hype train going on that. So thanks a lot, and speak to you all soon.